Hey everyone, we watched Insatiable.
Which is sort of like the Unbreakable Kimmy Schmidt if Kimmy Schmidt were fat and everyone was the worst person you've ever met. Welcome to Bad Watch.
I like that. I like that a lot, actually. It's like cheerfully terrible. Okay,
Yeah,
well, he's Evan. Let's start with that.
He's Andy.
Yeah,
and this is
we made
Bad
it.
Watch, our podcast. What do we do here? What are we doing? What's going on?
We're talking about them bad shows / movies or whatever else we want to watch.
Yeah, I think that's fair. We watch bad TV, so you don't have to, and then we basically make fun of it. Now,
I really like your line though. We watch the shit out of shit.
We do watch the shit out of shit. Now, I found a list of like some of the worst reviewed shows on Netflix, and this was a list of just what they had released in 2018, the year of our Lord 2018.
Oh boy!
And I am still amazed at how bad it was.
I'm sort of like stunned. Well, I feel like we first need to preface this is that we were going to do a Bad Watch on The Expanse.
This is true. And we realized it was just an okay watch. It wasn't that bad. It also wasn't, for me, it's not a particularly good watch.
I am a big fan of the show, and I really had to work hard. And I came away with like a little bit of material, but I was like, this is like an okay episode. It wasn't amazing, but there were some bits that were a little silly. But like overall, like it was okay.
Yeah, that was sort of where I ended up too. And I mostly wanted to watch it because I knew Andy liked that show, and I just wanted to make fun of it.
Any opportunity to tear me down.
Yep. But it wasn't as bad as I remembered having seen like 2 episodes previously. And so then I was like, well, I've heard of this show called Insatiable. So let's set the scene. There is a young woman in high school named Patty who
wearing a terrible fat suit.
Wearing a terrible fat suit, and we are supposed to believe she is incredibly obese. And everyone calls her Fatty Patty. And she has a best friend, Nani, which is not a name unless you're a grandmother. And even then, it's not your real name. But she has a best friend, Nani, and together
Do we even get a last name on her?
No. She's like Madonna. Nani. The best friend who it turns out is a lesbian and very much in love with Patty. And basically all they do together, it seems like they're each other's only friend, which is sort of sad. But what they do together is stuff their faces and watch Drew Barrymore films. Why Drew Barrymore? I honestly wondered, like, was she a producer on Insatiable?
I was like, they name dropped Drew Barrymore like a bunch. Like,
and they showed clips
to
from
resurrect.
like 3 of her movies.
Yeah, I was like, they're making sure she gets her royalty checks. I don't really know.
Yeah, it was weird. I mean, Santa Clarita Diet is okay. I didn't watch the second season, but the first season was fine.
I would have to say like you said, it was weird. The whole show is oozing weirdness.
The whole show is one of the strangest things I have ever witnessed in real life or on television.
It's so strange. I think there were like 4 or 5 times where I was like, I don't know why. Like I was just like, why? Why is it? Why? What's happening right now?
It doesn't really make, and none of it really makes sense. So let's get into it. Fatty Patty and Nani are in gym class. And everyone's like, they're like jogging by, and one of these like nice, the popular mean girls who's pretty with like long, gorgeous hair, they're like, smells like bacon. And I was like, isn't that what you say when you see a cop? Like,
I mean, even then it was just like stupid. Like, it's like, people click. It's just, this whole show is like the embodiment of extremes. Like, everyone is a foil, basically. There's no one who's got like, oh, I'm like a regular like everyone is insane. And I was talking to Evan, like, is everyone trying to, like, they're trying to make a commentary on, like, consumption or, like, how crazy our society is? I don't think they are, because
for them to be making any sort of commentary, they would have to, like, I don't know, have some thought behind this program, which is not there.
It just felt like we're only going to extremes, and that's just what we're going to do. Deal with it.
Yeah, there's no one who is... Actually, I heard of an exhibit that's currently at the Chicago Cultural Center where it's this photographer who wanted to photograph African Americans who were extremely ordinary or extraordinarily ordinary, because the way African Americans are covered in the media, it's always like the extremely wealthy or the extremely poor or the extremely violent, or it's... And just like I just wanted to photograph African Americans doing normal stuff. And I was like, that actually is a fair point. And that's sort of, they do that on this show, but it's all white people.
At their extremes. It's the media view.
At their extremes.
Black people as white people at their extremes. Is that?
Yes. What the media currently does to African Americans is what this show does to white people. But
so we are filming this sort of just after the Christchurch shooting stuff just happened here.
Yes. And, also, we're recording. I hope we're not filming.
We shoot. Yeah, we're recording. Yes. But I was reading something that sort of linked to that. It was like, just, you should treat your significant other sort of like how white terrorists get treated. They're angels up until they do something terrible. Like,
oh my God. Yeah.
Because I was just reading headlines, and it was like these just the comparisons were just horrifying. It was like, it's crazy that this show makes me think of that, but it's just they're so extreme. Everyone's reaction to situations are just like bonkers off the wall.
For a show with zero gun violence, it is incredibly extreme. But Fatty Patty, and I'm only calling her that because she's not actually fat, and number two, literally everyone in the show calls her that. I'm not trying to shame fat people in any way, but they're jogging in gym class. Someone says it smells like bacon, and Nani's like, are you feeling okay? Just ignore them. And then she's like, when was the last time you ate? And Fatty Patty's like, Tuesday. And then she collapses.
Tuesday. And then she just falls over.
Collapses on the floor because she was starving herself, apparently.
Yep.
And then she wakes up because, like, the handsome boy, popular kid comes over and, like, makes sure she's okay. And then they go to the convenience store on a Friday night or something when they're both awake. This is Nani and Patty. And Nani's like, yeah, we're at the convenience store at the same time. We know that Chad or Brad.
Brick.
His name is Brick. That's right. His name is Brick. At the same time, Brad always buys his beer. I was like, aren't these people in high school?
Change his name back to Brad again.
Oh, fucking Brick. I'm gonna shit a brick about Brick.
So apparently he drinks every weekend, like as a teenager. I was like,
or he's 21 and he's trapped in a hell that vaguely resembles high school. It's all about the reality you choose to believe in.
This is taking place in Georgia, so who really knows?
This is set in Atlanta, and but they talk to Brick, and Brick's buying his booze, never is carded, and Nani's like, hey, Patty wanted to ask you for coffee, like a date, wink. And then Brick's like, because I was nice to you, you thought, and he's like, that's really sad. And then he leaves. Which it is very sad, but it could have been a little more polite about it. Honestly, I thought he was going to be meaner, so,
Yeah, I felt like it was pretty brutal as it was.
It was
especially
pretty brutal.
Especially for like a teenage boy, that to be his response off the cuff. Like he's like,
well, remember, he's at least 21. He's no longer a teenager.
Right? I was like, that was so strange. Also, the guy selling him the beer is a teenager also. It was a weird... Again, everything's weird about this show. I don't really know...
Yeah. But this sets the scene for, apparently, Nani, rather than stay at the convenience store and comfort her best friend, Fatty Patty, she vanishes into the night.
This is the woman she's in love with. She's like, I'm out. Yes. You're sad. I'm out.
Yeah. She's like, well, too bad things didn't work out for Brick. It's like, girl, this is your opportunity. This is your moment.
Right? This is like she's been turned away.
Yeah.
Just come to me for comfort. Right?
It was really... There's no reason for her not to be there. And the reason I'm stuck on this is because the whole rest of the show hinges on what happens next, which is that Fatty Patty is sitting on the curb outside the convenience store eating an enormous candy bar when she is approached by a boozy homeless man. And he's like, hey, you got $1? And she just sort of looks at him. And then he's like, oh, are you going to eat the rest of that? I mean, you don't need it, fatty. And she punches him in the face. While this is happening, she's doing all sorts of voiceover about how she's emotional and hates being fat and doesn't like it when people call her fatty. And then the homeless guy gets back up and punches her in the face, and she blacks out.
Yeah. And then he hits her a lot harder.
He's a very fit, boozy homeless gentleman.
Well, actually, I mean, they tell us later that they had to wire her jaw shut. They had it was 3 months later or something. We see her again.
Her jaw is wired shut, and miraculously, she loses all of her weight, all of the fat suit weight,
all stretch marks too.
Yeah, she had a good plastic surgeon come in and say, "Well, now that you're skinny, we got to make you look fucking hot." So yeah, she's like beautiful now, even though it was the same woman, just not in a fat suit. Yeah. But meanwhile, while her jaw is being wired shut, we meet a Southern lawyer named Bob. And I know we have recommended The Good Wife as a good watch on this show before. And if you've seen that show, the actor who plays Alicia Florrick's brother is Bob, the lawyer. I keep wanting to say Bob the Builder. Bob the lawyer on Insatiable. And I feel like that's important to mention because on The Good Wife, this actor plays a homosexual man. On Insatiable, he plays a straight man who I think is supposed to read as homosexual, but maybe doesn't know he's homosexual. The whole thing is very weird.
I mean, they have that celebration with his hot wife, who is another famous actress who I can't recall.
The Charmed Witches.
Yes.
Is that Alyssa Milano?
Maybe. I don't know them well enough.
One of the beautiful Charmed Witches is his gorgeous wife.
Yeah, and so but they're like madly in love, but he's just very effeminate, and it feels I feel like people can act effeminate and be straight. That's fine, but it feels like he's acting effeminate to be gay, but he's also straight. Like I just don't really know.
Yeah, and maybe he's bisexual. It's whatever is the case. This Bob the lawyer is not following his personal truth. I think we can safely say
it feels like there's a weirdness. Like they've made the choice for him to be this effeminate. Like there's a reason behind that. So,
you have a smoking hot wife, but he's got a
smoking hot beard is what he's got.
That's true. And also Bob the lawyer is wildly in love with his lawyer nemesis, who at every chance the show has, he's just shirtless, which I actually really enjoyed. I thought that was one of the better jokes on the show.
It's so funny. Yeah, it's so absurd. Also, he is a very attractive person.
Yeah, he's a handsome guy.
They do all these close shots, and it's really fun and ridiculous. Again, but it's weird. Like, what?
It's extremely weird because the guy, Bob, is in this other lawyer's office, and they're talking about a case. And, of course, hot lawyer has just biked to work, and he's taking off his shirt, and the Bob guy's like, oh, and then he like very clearly turns to stare, like,
He looks away and then looks back for a long time.
I could grate cheese on that thing, y'all. I think as Paula Deen once said. But he's a lawyer, but he's also, to be even more effeminate, he's like a big time.
He's a huge pageant fan.
Yeah, he's a beauty pageant coach.
Yeah.
So he is
all about the lifestyle and loves it and wants to be part of it and change girls' lives. And
he's having a very the Miss Congeniality dark timeline at this point in the show because he's coaching a high schooler in a beauty pageant,
and she's Asian and her mother isn't. And it was sort of
and there's no dad in the picture. I think we're supposed to assume that her.
And they live in the South, and she's like super. I mean, that also sort of felt weird to me as well. Like it's like, okay.
It was. I wasn't going to bring it up.
Was she a diversity hire, and then they just decided not to show the timeline at all? It just felt weird. They could go into that later in the show, but it just.
We're not going to be sticking around to find out.
Yeah, I don't think so.
But they're getting ready for some pageant. Is it the Spring Baby Jesus? No, that's the one that comes later. Never mind.
Yeah, that's the end. Spring Baby Jesus.
That was another really funny joke where they have all the beauty pageants have really dumb fucking names. But his little like coachee, his beauty pageant contestant, is on stage. He's like, and there's yet another voiceover where he's talking about how it all comes down to her interview, and she steps
and her personality, which he apparently has zero, because they do like a flashback to him going, avoid politics, just stay neutral.
And she's like, what? Her mom's like, wow, that's how we're gonna win. And then he's like, okay, but it's gonna sound like you don't like homosexuals. And she's like, well, we don't. That's who we're trying to keep out of the country. We don't want trannies in the ladies' rooms. And I was like, they should not use the T word because that is not cool.
Well, he said that, didn't he? He goes, don't say trannies.
Oh, that's right. He does. He tells them that, and they're like, why? But then, so it's the beauty. His students, his mentee, I guess, goes on stage, and they ask
Dementee in this case.
Dementee goes on stage during the pageant, and the moderator host asks her, "What are your thoughts on ISIS?"
Like, I was like, what? That's a discussion they ask people at a beauty pageant?
And I was like, first of all, I don't think she's qualified to answer that question. It's a very complicated issue. But then she says, do you mean like Italian ices? I like lemon. I like orange. And lime is probably my favorite. Thank you. And then, and then everyone's like, oh my God. And then, of course, she doesn't win because she's shown the whole audience that she's this idiot who's apparently never heard of ISIS. And who thinks ISIS sounds like ISIS? Ugh. Anyway, so they're doing the awards. The nemesis lawyer's daughter, in fact, wins,
and she is gorgeous.
Yeah, and she is gorgeous. She's gorgeous like her father.
Hear her answer, but she probably deserved to win if she's with that father to direct her.
Yeah,
she probably is well knowledgeable of what's going on in the world.
For sure.
Didn't answer about ISIS.
So the Asian American young teenager's mother jumps up on stage, and I keep slipping into that Southern accent they all have, and she's like, we lost because he touched her hoo-hoo. And she points at Bob the lawyer. And Bob's like, oh, no, I did not. And he looks very affronted. And I was just waiting for someone to say, like, isn't he gay? Wouldn't that make him not interested in a young teenage girl? But
my other part was like she jumped up and said it, and then she like couldn't. She said hoo ha, and then like made very broad general strokes in the genitals area, like she couldn't bear to actually point it out. And then her daughter though didn't step forward to corroborate in any way. Like it just Like it was like, this feels like you're just really angry. Like it just felt like people would be like that. I have questions about this, anyways.
Yeah,
but it turns out she's like obviously she's a terrible person. We're meant to hate her.
Yes,
which makes it even stranger when she gets invited to the gala later they're throwing.
The whole thing is dumb. What? But this woman and her daughter do not press charges because, as Bob the lawyer tells us in voiceover, they didn't have a shred of evidence. And but his reputation around town is in fact ruined. And does he work for his father? Am I correct in that? Okay, his father is like the stereotypical Southern lawyer in a white suit. And he calls him in. He's like, son, I want you to take this pro bono case. This poor gal was knocked out by a homeless man after he called her fatty. And he's like, what? We do pro bono work?
I think he actually made fun of both of them. I think he's like, no one cares about fatties or the homeless.
Yeah, and you two deserve each other.
Basically, it's just like another hated character. Okay, just like everybody in this show is an asshole to some larger extent.
Yeah, and I have in my notes bum fight pro bono, which was exciting. Bob the lawyer goes and talks to Patty Fatty's mom, who I guess is Slutty Patty, because she is so grateful for him for taking the case pro bono, which he told her he was doing, that she tries to foist her breasts upon him.
Yeah, she squeezes them together, and it's just like awkward and gross as she puts down her daughter about her weight. Like in that conversation,
she takes her food very seriously. And that's I think
there's
It's gross.
There's a lot of cringe in this show, and I'm not good at cringe. Like, there were a lot of moments where I was like, don't do it.
It's bad. It's real bad. And, yeah.
And again, if they had some overarching plan that they were trying to do something with this, I feel like
I refuse to believe that is anywhere near the case.
Like,
especially given the reviews this show received.
Okay, I didn't look into any of that, but it was just
really. I don't know if we've talked about this on the show, but I have a theory that Rotten Tomatoes is overly hard on film reviews and they're overly soft on television reviews. And this show
I don't think we
has
had to discuss that, but yeah, that's definitely true.
This show has a 59% the last time I looked at Rotten Tomatoes, which for them that's like
really low.
I don't know. That's like how people really feel about Avatar, probably.
Yeah, because TV shows, I don't know if the listener has ever checked before, TV shows tend to be like 80s, 70s, 80s, 90s.
Yeah.
Like a bad show is 70s usually. It's like...
Yeah, this 59% is extraordinarily low for Rotten Tomatoes. But Bob the lawyer is like, well, can I talk to Patty? And she's like, no, she's not here or something. And it was very weird. It's like, well, wouldn't he want to talk to his client?
She can send you an email. She's still got her mouth wired shut at this point.
That's right. And, so he doesn't meet her until they arrive outside the steps of the courthouse. And turns out Fatty Patty is Hottie Patty. Or, Patty 2.0. She's a very attractive young woman who is no longer overweight and never was, apparently, because she has no stretch marks. And I think Bob the lawyer tells us in voiceover that I knew she was my destiny. Also, during his conversation with Patty's mother, he finds out that Patty Senior, who I'll call her Patty Senior, she was somewhat of a beauty queen, and then she got knocked up with Patty, as she says.
Was she? Well, I mean, no, she didn't. What she said was, "I was a drunken whore."
Oh yeah, she said, "I was a drunken whore." Got knocked up with Patty, but
which is like the level of self-awareness there was pretty cool.
It fell really flat though. Considering I think that was supposed to be a laugh line, it was like, okay.
Yeah, it was,
but
that was like I was like, oh, some character growth. Turns out she's a terrible person still, anyways. Like she kept ragging on her daughter, but it's like,
yes,
I guess it's good that you have some self-reflection.
Yeah, and so they're at the courthouse. I don't remember what happens that time they're there.
The DA was there, Sexy Bob, lawyer was there. But they asked for a continuance or something because the homeless guy wasn't there, and they were like, we're going to change our plea as well because felons are not pageant winners.
Oh, that's right, and he's doing a whole miscongeniality with her where instead of her being like a rough and tumble FBI agent, she's a no personality, beautiful teenager.
But then he asked her like, what? Well, first though. I think he asked her, like, what do you think about ISIS? Or did he ask her that specific question or something else?
He asked her a very similar politically oriented question. And her answer, I thought, was, like, very vague but fine. Which I guess is sort of exactly what you're looking for in that scenario.
Yeah. Don't even get me started about Yemen. Like, she was just...
Oh, that's
like,
right.
What are you talking about? What do you know about the refugees in
don't even get me started about Yemen. I think she does say that, which was it made me laugh.
The end of it. And I was just like, okay.
Oh God! But they are prepping for her testimony. He decides what she's gonna wear, and she's like falling head over heels in love with him
because he gets me.
He gets her, and Nani's like, "You're kind of obsessed with this guy." And Nani is like flipping through her diary, and Patty's written like Patty plus Bob in these hearts. And they've known
each other for like less than a week, and she's got like 17 pages of it.
They've literally really met twice at this point.
It's a lot.
And he's a much older married man who reads as very gay. It's really weird. But she goes over to his, I don't remember why, but she goes over to...
So hold on. So we need to discuss the celebrate moment with the wife.
Oh, God,
so
that's
he gets
right.
the pro bono case assigned from his dad. He goes home, and he's like talking to his wife.
Alyssa,
and he's
charmed witch.
I think it's Alyssa Milano, yeah. And he's like, let's celebrate. And she's like, you've ruined our reputation. Now I'm trying to set up this gala, which sets up the whole tension for the rest of the episode.
But they do, in fact, have celebratory kitchen sex. Which
and
their son later tells them, he's like, yeah, I heard you guys celebrating in the kitchen. I was like, they do this regularly? That's gross. They prepare food there. That's disgusting.
And then, he goes to his son Brick, and he's like, I think they just did this for the joke and to confirm that he was Brick's dad. He was like, you got something on your pants. Like, it was like,
I forgot about that, but it was disgusting.
Yeah, disgusting. I think they were just the shot was there to establish that yes, Brick is his son, and he chose to name someone Brick. But also, they just slipped a really gross joke in for no real reason. It didn't aid anything.
Yeah, and so they're having a gala to benefit anal cancer research. Which I think the organization they are funding, it's abbreviated to CACA. Which I think it's like...
And the ribbons they're all wearing for it are brown. They're making really crappy jokes, literally.
Community Anal Cancer Alliance, I think is what it stands for.
Oh, God.
And,
so bad.
And then I also forgot to mention that I have in my notes. So when Patty admits to having a crush on Bob, Nani's like, he's the guy who was accused of being a child molester. And Patty's like, yeah, that means I have a chance. And I was like, that is not an okay way to think about this. And that's
I walked away because of the cringe at that point. I was like, I need to take a moment. And then I just hear Evan laughing.
That's also the moment I realized, like, Nani is just for straight up in love with Patty. And everyone on the show is using too much spray on Tanner.
It was just... There's just... So I feel like we've sort of like, so normally we try and do these, and I usually Evan follows the thread pretty well, and then there's going to be a couple corrections from Andy. This show just sort of like, it just drives me all over the place because it's just so weird.
It's just very hard to even remember what happened because ultimately nothing really happens. I have in my notes in quotes a lot of swallowing, and I don't remember what that means. So
I don't know, but that is a horrifying note.
And I think it was some sort of like oral sex joke, but I don't remember who made it or why.
God.
But that's right. So the Fatty Patty, when they find out that the convenience store cashier is going to be a witness against her in her trial, she goes and seduces him in the back of the convenience store. And but doesn't sleep with him. She just like tells him she will, and I don't think he even realizes it's the same person who was knocked out by a homeless man 3 months before.
Well, he saw her in court, so I mean he must.
Well, doesn't see her in court until later because he wasn't at the initial hearing.
Oh, okay.
You got to keep up, Andy. Okay. Insatiable doesn't wait for anyone.
But can it just stop?
So there's some casual witness tampering, and at the same time, Bob is having his caca gala for anal cancer, and the Community Anal Cancer Alliance, and Patty literally crashes the party to show up and like tell Bob the good news that she was seducing the cashier and that he will have a hard time testifying against her now. And she doesn't really get a chance to tell him that because Charmed Witch tells her she has to go. And then the mother-daughter who accused Bob of sexual molestation arrive at the gala.
Who are for some reason invited to this gala. Yeah, still, like, why would you? There are multiple enemies.
Why were they invited? And they see Bob talking to Patty, and that's when they decide to hire a private investigator. And
the thing is, it's not even the daughter is like sort of a non-entity after the beginning. Like I don't think she has another line of dialogue. She's just around.
Yeah, she just sort of glowers standing behind her mother.
Yeah, and it's all the mother. So I was like, I don't even like. It just feels weird that they like paid this lady to show up for an initial thing. They must have her do more later in the episodes, other episodes. But
I wouldn't be optimistic.
She's just a wallflower for the rest of the episode, but she's there, but not saying anything at all.
Yeah.
It's so strange.
Yeah. And then so at one point they're talking with the private investigator. I think it's them anyway.
You're going to do this joke, aren't
they open the trunk of their vehicle, and she shows the private investigator all of these neon pink firearms. Which honestly, that does feel like very Real Housewives of Atlanta to me. So,
well, I thought you were going to discuss when they first meeting the PI that they're going to have Trail Bob.
Jesus! And she goes,
people always think we're sisters. To her Asian daughter, or
her Asian American daughter,
she must be adopted. I've decided she's adopted.
Maybe that's possible.
But that would require like a warmth in your heart, and that woman
that would require you to care about other human beings, which I don't think this woman does. And the private detective is very blasé about this. I don't know. I hope that he and Bob the lawyer get together later or something.
Yeah. So the PI is now following Bob around, and then he gets pictures of Bob because he's working on his witness, the testimony that now Skinny Patty's going to be giving. So he's got pictures of him, and he's like holds her head, and it's like, you can do it. He's like being really uplifting, and they're going to twist this into a terrible.
It looks
moment,
like he's about to make out with her in the PI's photographs. But
the court date also. Oh, go ahead.
The court date comes, and the clerk is on the convenience store clerk is on the stand, and meanwhile Patty is like dramatically licking a pen, like she wants to suck it off. And he's like, I've never seen her before. And then the beautiful prosecutor, who's basically always has his shirt off, is like, what? I'll say what? And he then questions Fatty Patty, and Fatty Patty, through like a feat of rhetoric, gets him to sort of say, like, you think I deserve what happened to me because I used to be fat, and then she's found not guilty, or the case was dismissed or something. I don't remember.
She did get him to say that?
She was like, are you trying to suggest that I deserved what happened to me because I was fat? And he's like, oh no, that's not what I'm trying to say. Can I take my shirt off? And
wait, really? They had his character get trapped by a teenager?
Yeah, a man who supposedly went to law school.
Okay.
Yeah, that's exactly what I wish I was making that up. That's exactly what what happened.
I had a little bit more like so the characters are not only foils, they are also stupid. All of them.
I mean, there's nothing redeeming about this show. Yeah, but
there are some throwaway jokes that were funny. But
let me hurry and finish it through the plot. I'm tired of talking about this dumb show.
Wait, see, I was just looking at the time. We're like in 30 minutes, and I'm tired of this.
Yeah, the show fucking sucks. So the hot lawyer's daughter, who wins all the beauty pageants, her name is Magnolia, and she tracks down Bob the lawyer, and she says, I know what my parents are trying to do, and I think you should be my coach, or something like that. And he goes, what? Okay. And she's like, come over tonight and we'll talk strategy. My parents won't be home. He shows up. She's like wearing this bare midriff top and very short shorts, holding two glasses of scotch.
Yeah,
one glasses. For everyone in this, every teenager in this show is like obviously 25 or something.
And heavy drinkers. Like, it's ridiculous.
They all have drinking problems, and they've all been in high school for like a decade.
Everyone's part of AA.
Yeah, but she hands him a scotch, and then there's even more voiceover, and he's like, I probably should have recognized that having a cocktail with a drunk teenager was not great given my reputation about town. And then I followed her upstairs into her boudoir, and
because I only had one thing on my mind.
I wanted to win
but
the
it's
pageant.
Obviously pageant. Yeah,
and
he's all about the
because he also thinks, like, after Patty's case was dismissed, he says, like, I want to be your beauty pageant coach, and Fatty Patty's mom says, oh no, I won't let you do that to her, blah blah blah. So he thinks that his destiny with Patty is over, but he can steal Magnolia from her father. And then Magnolia's in her room just disrobing. And he is like, oh my God.
Like, let me show you this.
Oh my God.
Let me show you this dress. And he's like, no.
And she's like, it's fine. You're my coach. And of course, the PI is taking photos of this as well. And then Brick.
Then Brick comes.
Brick shows up,
dating.
and he is Bob, the lawyer's son. I don't know if we mentioned that earlier. God.
Oh, we did.
Okay.
Yeah.
He shows up
that
because
was that scene with left some of the celebration on your pants.
That's right. He and Magnolia apparently used to date, and then they broke up, which we learned because Bob the lawyer is like, Magnolia, I thought y'all broke up. She's like, we did, but I guess he wants to make amends. And so then Bob the lawyer tries to climb out a second floor window and falls and somehow doesn't die or hurt himself.
Yeah, I was like, oh, so the main character just died? And then we see him again, and he's totally fine. I was like, you just fell 2 stories, bro. Like, on your back.
Yeah. And then Patty and her mother go to an AA meeting to celebrate her mother's 100 days of sobriety. And who do they see there also celebrating 100 days of sobriety but the aforementioned bum fight from earlier. And
this was also so strange.
This was maybe the weirdest, like the part of the show that did not track in any way, because Patty sees him, recognizes him, realizes that he does not recognize her as the fat girl he punched out, and she says, I'm going to have sex with him to get revenge. And
yeah, it is so strange. It is so strange. And then I think they're like trying to establish that she's going to destroy everyone who ever hurt her, because they have
because she's hot now and she wants to use her sexuality as a weapon.
But it's just so like
it's so bizarre,
gross and dirty,
and she tells
weird.
She tells Nani her plan, and Nani's like, "But don't you want your first time to be with someone you know, someone you love?" And I'm like, Nani, girl, give it up. And
like I think at this point I said to Evan, I was like, Nani is the only semi-decent character on the show, and she's mostly just pathetic. It's just it's real sad.
It's terrible. And so she and Bum fight. They like go get on a date, and he takes her back to a hotel. And he's definitely not sober. He's like drinking straight from a bottle of vodka. And he passes out, and she is going to...
She's mad at him first.
She's mad at him because she wasn't able to fuck him and take her revenge. So instead she decides, that cigarette he was going to smoke before he passed out, I will drench him in this vodka and put the cigarette in his mouth and light it and then casually leave the room. But
I was like, leading up to this, I was like, wait, she's going to burn him alive? We've gone a little bit far.
The only way this scene could have been weirder is if she killed him and then decided to still have sex with him. Like, none of it makes any goddamn sense. But she decides not to burn him alive. She decides not to go on like an eating binge. And who does she call but Bob the lawyer, who's casually drinking in his car, I think contemplating suicide?
Yes,
that's right. He pulls a gun out of his glove compartment.
He was going to kill himself. This show is hitting like so many like weird missteps. I don't know how to describe it.
It's so bizarre. And he gets a phone call from Patty as he has this revolver up to his head.
Is it in his mouth? Or
It's on its way if it's not already there. I feel like the phone rang and he was so startled that he dropped the gun. I feel like that's what happened. I'm not sure though. So he talks to Patty and she's like, forget my mom. I want to be a beauty queen and get revenge on everybody. And he's like, oh, hell yeah, girl. And that's how the episode ends. Thank God. And meanwhile,
so weird.
Crazy Train is playing and
yeah, we looked at each other and we're like, why is this musical selection right now?
Crazy Train is playing, and also Bob the lawyer has been wearing a wig this entire time, which he takes off right before he kills himself. I was like, honestly, if you're really that vain, I feel like you would kill yourself with your wig on.
It's such a weird show. Yeah, we both looked at each other. We're like, "What?" Because it is so immediately jarring. Like, this is not the music that should be playing right now. Like, very clearly.
It's very strange. Executive producer Drew Barrymore. I really don't know what you were thinking.
And this is billed as a sitcom, and it's just like not really funny, and there's a lot of cringe, and it's a lot of gross behavior and gross people.
And one of the things that I actually found most annoying was how seemingly every character had a moment where they were giving voiceover, and then there were moments where it seemed very obvious that a character should be having voiceover, like the moment where Nani is flipping through Fatty Patty's journal. Like, that was a perfect setup for Nani to have a VO and be like, oh, I've loved her since we were 6 years old or whatever. And she doesn't.
Yeah, they could have had that exposition.
But even, like, Alyssa Milano gets some voiceover. Everyone gets voiceover, pretty much, except for Nani and a handful of other folks.
We did miss the moment. So there is... so at the Ass Cancer Gala, he's just Bob the lawyer. He is just pontificating about ass cancer, and it is just, it's so bad. Like,
that's right. And he's interrupted when Hot Lawyer's wife and his beautiful daughter Magnolia run in and announce that she won the Spring Baby Jesus pageant or something like that.
Yeah, like she gets to be Baby Jesus, Magic Jesus or something like that. I can't remember.
Hot Magic Jesus.
and then Bob's Alyssa Milano's character goes over and is like so excited for them and just definitely starts flirting with the more attractive DA lawyer Bob.
Yeah, I think because she knows her husband is a homosexual.
And then her husband is still speaking at the podium and then just starts yelling.
He's like, I need to talk about anal cancer.
It's so, and it's like his speech is all puns and like really, really bad poop jokes.
And
like,
behind him, there's an enormous banner that says "caca." So
yeah, it is like I don't know, like the toilet humor, like I don't know, in something else it could sort of fit. And I think I described this initially when we were talking about this in the aftermath. I was like, I feel like this like almost This Is Always Sunny. Except none of the characters are like actually funny. Like Always Sunny has like every character is horrible, and then like they just roll with it to the absurd extremes.
Yeah,
this is like they're restrained, but only a little bit, and it's not. It just does not carry the same flavor.
Well, I think we're supposed to get as Bob the lawyer is about to commit suicide in his luxury automobile is like, oh, he's an awful person, but we're supposed to care about him. And I was like, fuck no, like he sucks. Everything about him is terrible. Like he is in an unhappy marriage. He isn't nice to his son. He's in inappropriate situations with all these young women.
It's so weird.
It's gross. But Lauren Gussis is the woman responsible for this show. So I don't know. Go yell at her on the internet or something, or at least ask her what the fuck she was thinking. It doesn't... Oh, God, it's terrible. But, Andy, do you know how I'm feeling?
Tired?
Feeling financial.
Oh, I'm feeling tired after that. But yeah, financial, yes. Oh, is that someone at my door? Let me just open it.
Hello?
Hello?
Hi there.
Who is this?
My name is Percival Charles Winthrop III on my mother's side. And I am here on behalf of the Georgia Peach Touring Company. I did ask your partner in crime, so to speak, Evan, to leave Bad Watch Studios because, to be quite honest, I do not trust that little fucker as far as I could throw him. So, how are you,
I hope you
sir?
can trust me.
Well, sure. We'll find out, I suppose. Now,
all right.
Would you like to hear about the Georgia Peach Touring Company?
Nothing, and I mean nothing, would make me happier, Percival.
Well, it's an organization that I founded, and yes, I am president and CEO. Thank you for asking. And the tour starts, well, right now we're still an upstart company. I think that's the correct term. It's set in Savannah, Georgia, where we go to some of the haunted locations and eat pralines, and then we go to the beach and talk about sharks' teeth. Now, did you know that the coast of Savannah, Georgia is one of the handful of places in the world where there's just sharks' teeth everywhere waiting to be picked up by tourists from across the globe?
I did not.
One of the other places is on the Gulf Coast of Florida. So if you have to choose between Savannah and the Gulf Coast of Florida, I think you know which is better. Am I right or am I right? Now, in addition...
You are a salesman and
we do go to a peach orchard where you eat some peaches, like that Allman Brothers album. And then you have some peach ice cream. And we don't have the pralines at that point because we ate them all. But,
okay.
Yes. So all I need from you is your social security number, your mother's maiden name, and the password you use for basically everything online, and we'll get you set up for the Georgia Peaches Touring Company's next outing.
Interesting. That's an interesting series of requests there.
Well,
How many people have taken you up on this offer?
Well, you would be part of the inaugural group, I believe. I shared the information that we required with your compatriot, Mr. Stoner, and he
let you come on here.
He balked at the notion, but he admitted your lovely little program here needs sponsors. So he decided he would excuse himself while I made my sales pitch, as it were.
Well, I think I will need to speak with Evan. It's weird that he wanted to get a little bit of distance from a sponsor before he let him on.
How about you speak with your wife, and we can get her on this deal, and we can throw in our couples basket when y'all are on the touring bus. It includes...
Is it called a couples fraud basket?
No. Dear me, no. It includes some sunscreen, a handsome visor to keep the sun out of your face, and also the hair out of your ears. And did you know that some people here trimming cattails down by the water? Now, when I was a boy, a woman...
I feel like we've lost the thread. Percival.
I just want to share this one little anecdote from my childhood. I think your listeners will really enjoy this. Now, I was with my brother, the owner of the aforementioned peach orchard, and we were down by the lake by our house because we had a big estate, you understand. And, it was one of those plantation houses. A lot of people get a bad rap for living in those, but they're beautiful homes, not a cent, no bad history whatsoever. They've all been remodeled since the slave days. But we were down by the lake, tire swing. It was very quaint. And this woman comes up and she says, "Well, looky here, Percival. I'm out trimming cattails and I find you on a tire swing." And I said, "Lordy, brother, why is she trimming the tails off of cats?" Turns out that's what they say when they're trimming the cattails that grow out of the water, the plants. And anyway, you'll see some of those on our inaugural tour. So if you get a chance, just email me the information, or email me the information of someone you think really wants to go on this tour.
Okay.
And
all right.
Yeah, you could. It's a lovely gift. So
I'm sure that it is, Percival. I do want to thank you for your time, and that's really an anecdote.
Really my pleasure. Now you take care now, all right? Bye-bye.
You too. Goodbye.
So, yeah, I'd rather not talk about that if it's all the same to you.
Okay. I think the level of fraud that seemed to be going on in that man's organization.
We're gonna... Listeners, we don't have a promo code, but they do have a website if you want to go give away your identity. Who knows? Maybe we'll hear from Percival Walcott III on a true crime fraudcast, where he's in jail fighting for his innocence. He'll probably stump for that to be the next season of Serial or some shit. But anyway, do you know what time it is? Goodwatch.
That time, I was about to say.
Yeah. So what do you got?
My good watch for this week is, I think we might even need a new category because I'm just so excited about this.
You told me about this, and I'm still annoyed, but go ahead.
I'm still excited. I'm doing it. It's my life, all right? This is a pre-good watch. We're getting on the hype train. I'm really excited for the movie Dune that is due to come out in 2020. It has the most insane cast, if you want to take a gander online, and they just released that Hans Zimmer is going to be doing the music for it. So it is an insane cast lineup. I just hope that it lives up in any degree to the actual movie or actual book.
Yeah, Andy and I both love the book. I have not seen David Lynch's film adaptation of Dune, although I do remember watching the sci-fi miniseries adaptation and enjoying it very much when I was a
I actually haven't seen the sci-fi one.
There's lots of CGI blue eyes for the Freeman.
I mean, they're supposed to have the blue eyes.
The spice must flow. Also, there's an amazing moment on one of my favorite podcasts called The Flophouse where one of the hosts does his Tom Brokaw impression and he's trying to summarize Dune. And if you can go find that, everyone, it's really amazing because he's like, there's intergalactic shenanigans. And the spice must flow. It's one of the funniest things I've ever heard. And Andy is recommending a movie that doesn't come out until 2020. But I have to say, I'm also very excited for it. Timothée Chalamet is playing the Atreides boy, main character. I think Oscar Isaac is in talks to play his father, which is pretty cool.
Yep. The cast is confirmed. They started shooting, I think.
And
so Oscar Isaac is his dad, yeah.
Cool.
Jason Momoa, Rebecca Ferguson, Josh Brolin. I'm looking at it right now. I'm very excited. Javier Bardem. It's a crazy lineup.
You know what? I was consulted on the Gom Jabbar color.
Yeah.
Yeah. They wanted to just go black, and I was like, no, you need to sort of bedazzle it so it looks black, but also like an oil slick at a gas station or something. So it's like black but sparkly and purpley. Anyway, that's my hope for the show. My good watch.
Okay, what's your good watch?
Insatiable is streaming on Netflix. If you want to torture someone in your life,
if you're a glutton for punishment,
make them watch that Clockwork Orange
No,
style.
sorry. If you're insatiable for punishment,
insatiable for pain and awful, you can go to Netflix. But a really good show available on Netflix is Russian Doll. It's starring Natasha Lyonne, who I think was one of the creators of the series, along with Amy Poehler and the woman who directed most of the episodes, whose name I have forgotten, unfortunately. But it's really great. It's very...
Amy Poehler's on it. Wow.
Well, not on it, but she's an executive producer for sure. At least I don't think she's on it. I don't remember seeing her. But it's only 8 episodes, so it's not a huge time commitment, unlike some Netflix series where you're like, I can't believe I spent 13 hours on season 2 of Jessica Jones.
Oh, that's a mistake.
I actually didn't spend that long. I gave up before then. But anyway, it's really good. It's this woman. It's her 30th or 35th birthday party. 36th. Thank you. She's having a birthday party at her friend's apartment, and as events unfold, she keeps dying. And when she wakes up, she's back in the bathroom at the beginning of the party. And it's sort of like a Groundhog Day, but even more existential. And I can't stress enough how amazing Natasha Lyonne is in this show. And I sincerely hope she's nominated for an Emmy or Golden Globe or whatever. I don't know. Do Golden Globes do TV?
I can never remember those.
Okay.
I can never remember.
Anyway,
she should get a prize.
She should win something because it's so amazing, and she manages to bring humanity and emotion and so much humor to a character who is inherently awful. So it is sort of a nice tie-in to Insatiable because her character on Russian Doll is an objectively terrible human being, but you care so much about what happens to her, and the arc of her story is really amazing to watch. And there's this, I won't spoil it, but there's an incredible scene where she keeps dying as she goes down the stairs to leave the party. And at one point she's going down and she's like hunched against the side. She's like, nobody touch me, okay? Just don't fucking, and then she falls and dies again, and it's the greatest thing. So I highly recommend you check out Russian Doll, and also check out our website, badwatchpod.com. We have links to our show on all the podcasty places like iTunes, Stitcher, and YouTube, and we also have a link to our shirts. All of our good watches and all of our bad watches are there for your perusal. And maybe head over to iTunes and leave us a review. That would be rad.
It would.
You can follow us on Twitter at BadWatchPod. You can follow me on Twitter at Evan W. Stoner. You can follow Andy on his way to work.
Don't do that.
That guy. I was going to say that guy's Evan.
Well, I mean, there is a guy. I mean, that guy is Evan. But that's my line.
I talk in third person
hey,
now.
Aaron.
Ha 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 ha. He's Andy.
Evan feels that this is funny. Yes, I'm Andy. He was Evan. Thanks for listening.
Oh my god. Good night. Don't watch Insatiable. Okay, bye.